Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. It's time for Tech Q&A. You've got questions. We've got guesses. I'm Nash. I've been doing Radio Dead Air for ages, but I'm also an IT professional. With me, as always, my producer, Mike Gearman, who's also skilled in the dark arts of IT. If you have tech questions for us, please fire those off. Send those to requests at radiodeadair.com, and we'll do our best to help you out with stuff. Oh, this guy, another one came in too. Good. So first off, we got some news stories, and I don't understand how people are not completely fed up with Facebook at this point.
Yeah. So a few years ago, before Facebook decided to completely shitify themselves, people used it to keep in touch. And then they decided, as I just said, to shitify themselves to the point where, and I'm not making this up, I didn't find out that certain people I knew had died until months later because Facebook decided, no, I'm not going to show you that notice by their significant other and all the posts of sympathy that you might have wanted to see and join in on.
Because algorithm, yeah. A while back, when we still had a functioning regulatory system, Facebook got in trouble for tracking stuff that people didn't want them tracking, their internet history, their search history, or other stuff that's not Facebook.
And especially for children. Because if, say you log out of Facebook and your kid doesn't know your Facebook account, that's fine. And then they go to use the computer because you say, oh yeah, you can use the computer, do whatever. And Facebook is still tracking you, but they're now tracking what the kid is doing. Well, there are actually laws against that sort of thing. Or,
and there
God
are some
forbid,
EU regulations against that sort of thing.
Or God forbid, you hand your kid your phone and you haven't logged out of Facebook. You just tell them, no, just play the game, use the browser, whatever.
So what Facebook did was they publicly backed down from a lot of that. But behind the scenes, because they are one of the most unscrupulous and arrogant companies I've ever seen, and that's saying a lot in this day and age, behind the scenes, what Facebook's apps were doing was exploiting a loophole. It's an exploit. I guess you'd call it an exploit in Android to get around the ways that apps had shut off the tracking to prevent this sort of thing happening. Facebook went, okay, so you said no. We think you really meant yes. So we're going to do it anyway. Whenever they used the local host options of Android, like quite often there are access points to applications that are based. It's hard to explain.
Local host is an internal thing, basically.
Right.
So it's your computer talking to itself through a port.
Right.
And there's various reasons this is necessary, this is useful. I mean, in the IT world, one of the first things we do when someone says, oh, I can't connect to the internet or whatever, we first check to see if they can even ping localhost.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't start there, but we might get there eventually. Go, okay, you can't ping this. You can't. Can you even ping localhost? Oh, you can't even ping localhost. We know what the problem is now, or we know where the problem is.
Except those are normal functions of the computer are supposed to be able to do that. What Facebook's apps did was they used those local host functions in other applications to track your internet search, your internet activity, where you went on the internet, what you were doing, what you were searching, they went around the typical application protections against cookies, against the robots files and all that. They went around
Cross-site
it.
scripting, things like that.
Yeah, they ignored it. So everyone said, no, don't do this, but they found an exploit in the applications. They said, okay, but we're going to do this. Even though we said we're not going to do this, we're going to do this.
And then they got caught. And very shortly after they got caught, they stopped doing it. And when I say this, the researchers published their information. But the researchers published their information like at the very beginning of June. And on June 3rd, Meta, Facebook, suddenly goes, oh, no, we're not doing that anymore. We've removed all that code. Nothing to see here. Move along. And that's not going to necessarily, that might get them out of trouble in the US because our regulatory system here is screwed right now. But it probably won't get them out of trouble in the EU. The EU is going to ask quite a lot of questions and then fine them.
Yeah, this is a technique that has been was mostly used by a Russian company called Yandex, which is their replacement for Google because, well, they don't allow Google to operate there. And this is the kind of behavior that is designed to ignore the wishes of users, to ignore the basic functions of operating systems, to act like an exploit, to get what they want.
And of course, the reason Yandex does it is because they're in Russia, and the Russian government really wants to know what the Russian people are looking at all times, in case they might do something like, what's the quickest route to deliver this prefabricated house to this army base or this Russian Air Force base? I don't think it has any drones in it, but I don't know for certain. Not that they would put that all into a Yandex search. I hope. You'd be the world's worst spy.
So understand, this is the level. This is violating security principles. This is violating user consent. This is just.
Now, what also should have happened is the browsers shouldn't have allowed this to begin with. Brave browser doesn't allow this by default. You have to turn on this thing. Chrome has issued a patch as of end of May, to block this. Effectively, Firefox has it in under development, and DuckDuckGo has modified its block list to stop Yandex scripting this, because Yandex, when the register reached out for a comment on them, discovered, oh, we're in Yandex's spam email address. They're just dumping our questions straight to spam.
This means that if you were using the Meta app, if you were using Facebook, if you were using, for some reason, their AI, if you were using Instagram, and that's the big one, Instagram. If you were using this, they were violating, pretty much their apps were all behaving like malware.
Mm-hmm.
Get this garbage off your system. Any company that would do this cannot be trusted on a bare basic level. If you are still using, I know some people are stuck using Facebook for work and whatnot. At the very least, don't put it on your phones. Because
it's not been on there's my phone. It's not been on my phone for months because I got off all that stuff. The only social media I use these days is Blue Sky. So
if you must use Facebook, try to do it in a private browser window. Try to isolate it as much as possible. I know some people have to for work because for some reason everybody's like, oh, we're still using Facebook. We've yet to see that. I'm pretty sure the EU is not going to be happy about this, because this is pretty blatantly violent. The EU tries to get all of these companies to ask users for consent for a lot of these options.
It's very much in their regulations these days. And of course, the tech companies fought tooth and nail against this. And one of the reasons that the U.S. government is arguing with the EU is because, oh, you're being biased against American tech companies. No, we're being biased against people doing shitty things on the internet.
Yeah, but you repeat yourself. So anyway,
I haven't surveyed every single American internet company. They're statistically, one of them is not doing shitty things on the internet. Where's Neopets based out of? Where's Neopets based out? Is Neopets still around?
Yeah, Neopets is kind of they went in on NFTs, dude.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. Let's move on to Intel. Now this is kind of, I'm a little disappointed in every tech reporter that picked up this story, because they're like, oh, here's a new CPU. It's in their core lineup. But then you dig down a little bit, and you realize, this is
it's not really new.
They're in trouble. This is pretty much a 5-alarm. Intel is in trouble. And I want to specifically point out Tom's Hardware, because I do read them. And the person who wrote the article at Tom's Hardware had no idea what was going on. Just so bad, just completely unqualified to write about tech in the basic level. All right, so what Intel is releasing is a budget Core 5 called the 120F. Now, understand Intel has delineated their previous series, the 12th gen, the 13th gen, the 14th gen, the i5s, the i7s. They put a straight line between that and the new stuff, which is just called Core. So you have Core 5, Core 3. They're supposed to be two different things. Mm-hmm. But then this CPU comes out. Now this is a very stripped down CPU. It's called Bartlett Lake S is the technology underlying it. Has no efficiency cores. It's all performance cores. And most notably, it has hyperthreading, whereas the entire rest of the core architecture does not have hyperthreading.
Because, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Nash, wasn't the reason that they started going away from the hyperthreading is because there were a lot of vulnerabilities that could be exploited, and it was just not, they decided the processors are fast enough. We don't need hyperthreading anymore. We can just go with fast processors.
Yeah, and not just a matter of that, it was causing other issues as well, and it was their only option left was just to pump more electricity into it. Well, the funny thing about, another notable thing about these CPUs is they don't run on the same platform as the rest of the core CPUs. They run on the LGA 1700 socket, which is the same platform as Intel's 12th, 13th, and 14th gen CPUs.
So you've got to be careful when buying this, because you might have the wrong motherboard.
This is not a core CPU. This we could call this the 15th gen i5, because that's what this is. They are this is the older technology that they have dressed up and pretending like it's the newer technology, but it only works on the old motherboards. They're kind of doing what AMD has done by using AM4 as their budget segment. Intel went, why can't we do that? Except in this case, it just kind of looks pathetic compared to AMD.
I'll note, they're saying this is game ready. It's a 1080p chip.
Yeah, it's 6-core, 12 threads, which is entry-level gaming these days. We don't know the price on this, but if they try to sell this for more than $100, they're out of their minds.
I was looking up other articles because I was trying to find a pricing on this, and everyone else is going, if they go 150, they're insane. If they go 120, they're mildly insane. 100 to 110.
Because even more, this one doesn't have a graphics unit either. This is straight up. This is the 12400. Clocked a little higher, a little bit faster, but this is just another iteration of Intel's 12400. What makes this especially damning is that AMD just released on AM4 the 5500 X3D, which is an even more cut down version of the 5600 X3D. And it still has the 3D cache RAM, so it goes much faster for gaming. It's a little slower, but for a budget gaming CPU, it's cool. It actually has the ability to, it is much faster than this will be, simply because the lack, even though it's a 6-core 12-thread as well, even though it's on older technology as well, that 3D cache is just destroying Intel in gaming. There are so many games it comes in handy for and improves the performance on. Intel has nothing in this department. They are in their rebuilding cycle right now. I figure that
like the Chicago Bears.
Kinda. I figure that the Core 300 series is going to be a little more competitive because they'll have, they've got the foundational of the new architecture down. They can iterate on it. But this going backwards, this is not good news. This is bad news. Intel doing this is is not good. Is bad. Is very bad. It's not good. It's bad.
I mean, the best I would say about this is maybe they were trying for a different processor and they had a bad manufacturing run. They say, well, you can sell it for no, not even that.
No, it's for LGA 1200, the 1700. It's the older technology. They're trying to do what AMD did. They're trying to make their last generation their budget model now.
Okay, so maybe this is why. Maybe they had a certain amount of production run that they had to, they were contracted to do under this 1700. They said, what are we going to fill up this with? We got to do something with it. Sitting idle cost us money.
I don't know. All I know is they're aping AMD, because AMD has I mowed this before. AMD doesn't have Ryzen 3 processors anymore. What they've done instead is, and they are keeping this go to the point where it's getting a little crazy. AM4 is now AMD's budget platform. Instead of AM5, that's their mainstream and up, the budget platform is AM4, except it's older technology. I don't know how long they can keep making Ryzen 5000 CPUs, new ones, for this process. And also, once we get to like Ryzen 10,000 or whatever they call it, the 7000 series is going to be much more, much more attractive as a budget option. Because even right now, the 7600, just the Ryzen 7600 and even the 7600F for that matter, are more attractive options. They're getting to be priced about competitively with AM4.
Yeah.
So my point is, watching Intel playing catch up to AMD and even their marketing ideas, they're a mess over there right now. That's all I can think. Even with this new CEO, they're kind of a mess right now.
Hang on, remind me when the new CEO came in.
A few months back.
So this might still be old CEO,
maybe
pipeline stuff.
We don't know.
Because I've never been a CEO. I'm pretty sure you've never been a CEO. I don't know how long it takes to start stamping your mark on things and go, this is now. I mean, obviously there have been CEOs who came in and something really bad happened immediately and they were out right away because there was no one else to blame. But yeah, I'm trying to think of a good analogy here. I don't have a good analogy.
Yeah. Well, and also I just have to say, shame on the entire tech reporting I found on this, because nobody pointed out the obvious. Is really like, are you really playing cover? I don't know if you're playing cover or you just don't understand the technology, but your reporting was bad and you should feel bad. The next one, this is kind of expected. We've had PCIe 5.0 now since the Ryzen 7000 series came out, and that was what, 2-3 years back now?
Yeah.
At least 3 years back.
I've had it personally since December.
Yeah, but PCIe 5.0 has been around for at least 3 years now, commercially. And I have seen hardly any PCIe 5.0 drives at all. I suppose there have been problems with implementing PCIe 5.0 because you go that fast, you use that much electricity, things get warm. Even graphics cards have not been, there are the newest NVIDIA cards are on PCIe 5.0, and I believe the newest AMD cards are, but they're not really utilizing it to its fullest. So, well, turns out we're not going to see PCIe 6.0 for at least another 5 years. PCIe 5.0 is going to stick around for a while. And considering it's just starting to get implemented, that makes sense. Because we've been on 4.0 drives for a while, and they've been dropping in price relative. Like nothing's really dropping, but relative. But yeah, it's the consumer PCs with PCIe 6.0 SSDs. We're not going to see those for a while. And really, I've also noticed that right now, you're not going to see a lot of difference. Oh, pardon me. Got sneezy there. You're not going to see a lot of difference between even PCIe 3.0 and 4.0 in terms of boot speed or loading applications, or most, like there are some applications this could come in really handy for, like large data transfers. That will be noticeable. It's much faster, large data transfers. But just in the course of everyday operation of your computer, they aren't taking advantage of a lot of the bandwidth available on PCIe SSDs. They just aren't. I don't know if they can yet, but I dare you to notice.
There's a lot of spec requirements. I'll be honest. I did notice when I built the new computer a significant increase in speed. However, I was not going from PCIe even 3. I was going from SATA drives.
Yeah. So that's
the PCIe.
You had a big limitation there as well. But 3.0 and 4.0, I don't expect most people to see a low, like if you go from SATA to PCIe, NVMe, PCIe, you're going to notice a big jump. But if you're going from NVMe 3.0 to 4.0 to 5.0, I don't know if you're going to see a loading speed difference, simply because I don't know how well, like a few seconds maybe, but not something that would be appreciable to the point where you're going, I'm going to drop down a few $100 extra on this drive. Because, the only time you're going to, like Daryl says, the only time you've noticed differences is transferring files. That's the main advantage of the higher level PCIe stuff. If you're not doing a lot of file transferring, if you're not running a lot of files or running a server or running a NAS or anything like that, for home users, the technology might as well not even exist, because it's just not. It's a very niche use for a lot of folks. Like I know a lot of people do like, I want my stuff to transfer fast because, for example, my backup drive is it is a SATA drive going through a USB 3.2 20 gigabit per second cradle adapter external enclosure, and when I do backups, I notice it. It takes a lot. Like it takes an entire day in the background to run a full backup of my system. But loading movies, I don't even notice because our media files are on our media server, and they're all SATA drives, and you don't even notice. So it's not a big thing for most users. So I can kind of see why this is getting a little bit delayed. People haven't been falling all over each other saying we have to have more PCIe speed on our drives. I mean, trying to even explain the difference to people between them would be hard to do right now, or even showing any, this is the upgrade you're getting. If people don't see the results of an upgrade, I was honestly thinking about
to give an example, not the PCI level. I mentioned before, we're doing this massive seat refresh at work. The most common question I have from the users is this an upgrade? And we're like, no, not really. It's just the warranty ran out on the other ones, and our policy is we replace them when the warranty runs out.
It's like personally, if I could afford it right now, I have been eyeing like 8 terabyte SSDs, even 3.0 8 terabyte SSDs. And the reason I've been eyeing them is because I want to get rid of my last hard drive in my system and replace it with an SSD. And 8 terabytes is as big as they've got mostly right now, but those are still like close to $400 or $500. And I'm like, I cannot justify it. I can't. I want it. But even then, I wouldn't be concerned about getting 5.0 in that instance, because even
you don't have the need.
Yeah, I don't have the need. But we won't see 6.0 for a while, so I'm not sure that's really going to be a huge impact on folks. All right, then. Well, it's time to get to your questions. If you got tech questions for me and Mike, please fire those away to requests@radio.air.com. Let's see what we have so far. All right, last week, we're going to cover this one first.
Well, hang on. Before we get to the questions, something I wanted to mention. I was having a little bit of system instability here. I was having crash every night or every couple nights. Mm-hmm. It was really weird because I just updated drivers. And I'm like, okay, maybe one of the drivers is unstable. And then I looked at what it said it had updated, and I'm going like, but those dates are, you didn't update anything here. This was not applicable to my system. I had this one already. I had this one already. I had this one already. Not applicable to my system. Why did you update? I had to go through my drivers individually. And what it turned out to be, there was a driver that it had updated, which was the AMD Windows support components. Not even sure what that driver does. I rolled it back to the previous driver, and suddenly the computer was stable again. Like
a lot.
You didn't even list this in. You didn't even list this in what was. You said you updated, and it was the one that was wrong.
Trying to dig through and find out what Windows has updated and hasn't, and in what time, and the logs of that stuff is pulling teeth for the average user. I'm sure there must be some way of doing it, but even me has fine trouble with it. All right. Last week at the end of the show, Daryl sent in a question that just stumped me. He was talking about trying to set up Discord so it only uses the microphone input from my USB mixer. Output from the USB connection goes to channel 7 and 8, which causes an echo because if I select the live L8 in Discord, it picks that up as well as my microphone. This is a ZoomTrack L8 mixer. I went through and dug around and did my best to try to find a way. What you're supposed to, and how it's supposed to work with this is that you're supposed to pick the channel in Discord, just the channel for the microphone, and that it won't hear the rest of it. But the other thing you did was you set up the mixer as your audio interface. And apparently you can't do these two things at the same time. Because I looked around, I looked up, there's other people on YouTube who had it. This is trying to figure out the best. It's a very complicated board. It is a board. It's more complicated than any board I've used. Even that Mackie I had a while back, that was mostly an analog board, even though it did have a USB interface.
It looks like a really nice board, don't get me wrong.
I typically have never used a USB interface as my monitor option for my audio. I've always had a separate audio device specifically for monitoring things. Because Windows is tricky about this stuff. So that was obviously what was causing the echo, was that you were I looked for a way to just mute the channel so that it wouldn't echo for you. I could not find it. The best solution I had to this is use the onboard audio device as your sound card, as your monitor, and then use the Windows. Windows has a way you can listen to recording inputs. Let me see if I can draw this up on screen so you can see it, because it's kind of buried these days. Let's see, where is the...
Yeah, because the Microsoft people have started saying, what?
There it is.
Users don't need to look at settings. Why would they need to look at settings?
I don't know. Let's put it over here so you can see it. This is the old recording bit that you see in, and all these devices here are recording devices, but if you click on them, right click and choose properties, there's a tab that says listen. And when you click on that, it makes the device play back through whatever your main audio device is. You could, or playback through the device. You set it for default playback, or you could set a specific audio device to listen to that recording input. That was the best way I could figure of doing it, was setting it up so you could listen to the input from your mixer, regardless, using the mixer together as the audio device, as the playback as well, was the main thing causing the problem. It's not an easy thing to do, or it's not an intended use case. So, all right, this one is from New Gadgets 5647. They have a little bit of language barrier with English, but hopefully we can help here.
Okay.
They want to buy a new X870E motherboard for a Ryzen 9 9950X3D motherboard. They're concerned about, because ASRock has got a good value for the price, but they're concerned about the ASRock issues with the burning up of the CPUs, which, that was an ASRock issue. You're a 3D artist making 3D animation games and a games developer. Your budget's very tight. Use a 1200 watt power supply, 64 gigabyte CL30 DDR5 RAM, and 360 liquid cooling rad. Best motherboard for your situation. All right. One of the ways, this is something you can all look out for. First thing to do is determine if you really need X870E, or that is the highest end Ryzen AM5 motherboard you can get right now.
Yeah.
But what that entails, let me see where's my matrix? I had the matrix. Not that matrix. Where did I put the matrix? Damn it, where's my matrix?
Looking for his paperwork. Yeah. The X87E, as he said, top of the line, it may be that X87 X870 rather, is sufficient. You don't necessarily need the E. It may not give you any features that you need.
Where is... AM5, come on. AM5 chipset matrix, please. Let me see. Here it is. This is the one I wanted. All right, I'll put this on screen over here so everyone can see it. AMD has made it kind of difficult to determine the differences between their chipsets, especially going from the 600 series to the 800 series. Here are the differences between them. And what you'll notice, for one thing, with the difference between the 800 and the 600 is X870 is a significant step down from X870E. If you look over at X670E to X670, they're very similar. But they changed that with the 800 series. So now effectively the X870 is pretty much identical to the previous B650E in terms of number of PCIe lanes, overclocking, USB speed, all of that, number of SATA ports. So that's these X870, B650E, same thing. So if you go back and you buy a B650E motherboard, it's the exact same as a brand new X870. It's kind of scummy that they did that. Here's another even more scummy thing. The difference between X870E and the previous generation X670E is 870E will definitely have USB 4.0. And X670E might have USB 4.0. That's the only difference. They're the same exact chipset in almost every other regard. Same number of PCIe lanes, same number of PCIe 5.0 support, all of that. They are identical. It was a scummy move that AMD. Yeah.
Now, depending on the specific board, there may be more options on the board, but that's going to vary.
Yeah,
so X670E may do you just fine. That's something to look at. If you were saying though you have to have X870E, I'd probably go Gigabyte.
Well, you don't. I would say really X870E is a little bit of a ripoff because I'm looking at the prices on these. Let's see, what's the least expensive? The least expensive 870E motherboard that I found was, like you're mentioning, Gigabyte. The Aorus Pro Ice, the white one, is their least at $350. It's their least expensive compared to ASRock.
Sorry, I'm seeing an X870E Aorus Elite at $330. So
that's a deal. But those are. Here's what I found still available for, however, X670E. MSI X670E Gaming Plus Wi-Fi, $237, almost $100 off. Versus, it's a brand new board. It's not refurbished. It's a new board from MSI. Has all the same, almost all the same features as X870E. It just does not have USB 4.0. Everything else you need: PCIe lanes, number of M.2 drive support, 8 SATA connectors if need be. All of the higher end features you need on X870E still available. You may have to update the BIOS when you get it, but that's not hard to do, and it will still recognize the newer CPU even without the BIOS update. It'll let you boot up, get in, find a thing you're doing. But this is a much better deal right now than buying an X870E motherboard. They're kind of a ripoff. If I was buying new right now, I would be getting X670. I still have an X670E, even though I've had some issues with Asus. This is why I'm not there. There is actually an Asus TUF that was a little cheaper. I'm not recommending it because I've had issues. But even then, my X670E, I don't see a reason to go for an X. For the price alone and all the rest of it, it's pointless. They didn't change enough. AMD really did some scummy stuff with this go round of motherboards. My personal recommendation, if you are really trying, it will knock $100 off your build if you get an X670E board. It's still supported. It will still run your 9950 X3D. It will run the next generation as well. It's probably going to run the generation after that. So any support the X870E has, the 670E will have as well. My intention when I got mine was that it was going to be the motherboard to last me for the next 6 years. And then I just drop a new CPU in at the end of that period and extend the life a little bit further along and get like maybe a whole decade out of this setup, as long as it doesn't break. So it's that's the best recommendation I can give you. If you're looking for it I found it on Amazon for the MSI X670E Gaming Plus Wi-Fi. I don't know where you're located, so you may have different prices depending on where you are, but I promise you will be able to find X670Es at a discount compared to the X870Es. Go with an X670E. It will save you a ton of money, and it will do almost, the only difference is PCIe 4.0, and there's not even that many devices for it. If you need 4.0 down the line, you can get a PCIe card, drop it in the slot. There you go. You have USB 4.0 support. So, yeah, that's my recommendation there. That will hopefully save you a good deal of money. And I like MSI. I like Gigabyte. ASRock, they were a little iffy. I think they've got the BIOS thing sorted out. But if you're concerned, Gigabyte would be my first choice. MSI thereafter. So, all righty. Let's see. Next question. This is a good one. I like this question. Hey, Nash and Mike and Cats. My brother-in-law gave me a GTX 1080 Ti as a hand-me-down because I've been using a GTX 1660 for a long time and I haven't been able to afford an upgrade. I did a little research before he passed it along and discovered the GTX 1080 Ti no longer gets driver updates. What does that mean? Does that mean it'd be better to keep my 1660 instead? I play a lot of stuff, and I was hoping to check out Expedition 33 soon, and I'm interested in game-ready updates for new titles. Thank you, Nick. Well, here's kind of the bad news, Nick. The 1660 isn't going to be supported for much longer either.
No.
Now, support, this is one of those things that sounds a little scary. It's like, oh no, my guard's not supported anymore. But that's not quite the same deal as if, say, your operating system is not supported or your computer's not supported. It's a different kind of support. In this case, it means they're not going to be making game-specific tweaks for those older cards. However, another thing is the 1080 Ti and even your 1660 aren't getting any RTX tweaks anyway because they're not RTX enabled cards. That's the main thing that NVIDIA is doing the tweaks to on the games. As far as gaming goes, you technically have, in terms of ray tracing, if you actually want to try to use it, and in terms of super sampling, you effectively have AMD cards, kinda, because you have none of the RTX features available to you on a 1660 or 1080 Ti, but you do have AMD made FSR available to all graphics cards, no matter what. So you'll still have access to super sampling. Why that? You are getting a super deal on this because the 1080 Ti has 11 gigabytes of RAM on it. It can handle,
Which I always thought was an odd number anyway.
Yeah, it's weird, the multiplication, but it can handle FSR super sampling because it's got the RAM for it. It can handle some higher textures because it's got the RAM for it. You'll still probably be playing mostly in 1080p with this, maybe some 1440p, but you will have a lot more RAM to play. The 1660 had 6 gigs of RAM. I think 8 at the most. I don't think it had 8. I think it had 6, but you're going to have a lot more RAM to play with. It's going to be much, and even the 1080 Ti is a much faster card than the 1660. I would still call it kind of a little above entry level for gaming performance right now, pure rasterization, but it's a venerable damn card. I would not worry about the game ready updates. It will still function. The last effective drivers will still work. If a big security issue happens, NVIDIA will release a driver with a patch that allows you to keep using the card, because security issues, they tend to do that.
Yeah. Now, that's not to say that 2 years from now they'll do that for this card, but right now, yeah.
As for a while, I mean, if it's a security issue, that's one of those, they're like, oh crap, we want to make sure nobody's got. Those rarely happen with drivers, though. Rarely. They do, but it's rare. You're getting a considerable upgrade. It's a nice upgrade. Your brother-in-law is very nice. Very nice. You should thank your sister for marrying him, because that's a nice card right now. That is, even though it's old, it was one of the best cards NVIDIA ever released. It's going to have some issues, and again, it's not going to have RTX. Even AMD ray tracing or Intel also, you can use they have kind of an open version of ray tracing. It's not going to be great, but FSR super sampling is also not fantastic, but it will allow you some more performance out of it. It's a good, you don't worry, you're doing fine. So there you go, Nick. Hope that answers it. Okay. I think we got two more here. First is from Marcus, just came in. Dear Nash and Mike, a while ago I switched my desktop computer's OS to Linux Mint in response to the Copilot news. Fair enough. This is before Microsoft rolled it back, so I may have jumped the gun. I'm looking to set up gaming on my PC now, in particular in my library of physical games at the moment. Person to help me set up the PC recommended Lutris. I've also heard about Wine. Never used it and I'm not familiar with it. Lutris is pretty straightforward. Just copy either the disk installer or program files into Lutris's library. My question is, because I don't really understand the answers I see in the forum, is what about games like Battle for Middle-earth that require installs across multiple disks? Any help be appreciated. Thank you for both your time and work. Marcus, I believe I can double check this. Lutris multi-disk install. Oh, neat. Okay. Wow. There are some workaround. You're gonna have to do a little bit of workarounds for this. I've seen one person recommend you start the install, you cancel the install, you click on the wine symbol. This is complicated. Apparently, other people having.
Yeah, it's a known issue, and I suspect Lutris people are going to be working on it. But there is a workaround, and it's from August of last year, so it seems to be working. Where you basically just deliberately fail the install, and then go in and edit
Yeah, see, I saw that answer too. It's not helpful. And it's also very specific to that one game. It's not helpful. Yeah, the problem with this here is when they wrote those old games to require multiple disks, there's a script on the installer when you start the installation that makes it go, okay, you have to stop now and swap disks. There's no other possible way you could be installing this. I don't understand any other way of doing it. And even if you were to say, open up the ISO files, the CD files, and combine them all somehow into a large ISO file all its own, it will still look for you to switch disks. There does not appear to be a way to do this easily or simply with Lutris.
Yeah, I've got an idea percolating through my head, but I've never used Lutris, so I don't know how well it worked. And that would be copying the ISOs separately and mounting them as images and saying, no, this is the drive. Oh, insert disk 2. Unmount that drive, remount it. It'd be awkward.
It may be your only option here is going to be try to find a version of the game that did not require install disks. Like, let's see, GOG, Battlefield, Good Old Games, Good Old Games, Battlefield Middle Earth, and they have it, I believe. Do they have it? Let's see. No, they don't. They vote to preserve it. Ah, damn it, they don't have it. Shoot. Yeah, you can't. There is no other install option. Crap. So you kind of just, in this particular instance, you're kind of stymied. This is one of the problems we're having with getting gaming on Linux, because a lot of the backward compatibility issues like this, like these were games from the early 2000s when they couldn't contain everything on one disk. They're trying to retroactively apply these, and this is cobbled together. It's not official support. It's open source stuff. It's other things other people are doing. I don't know if there's a good solution for this.
Yeah, I did some further searching while we were talking this, and the idea that I had in my head, other people have already tried and it didn't work. So
yeah, rip the disk ISO, swap what images mounted on the virtual drive when asked to swap disk.
That is, in fact, the idea I came up with in my head, and other people have tried that and it didn't work.
Yeah, and it does. It's not a matter of mounting a disk. Yeah, it's not a matter of mounting a disk. You actually have to move the files to the Lutris folders, and then Lutris takes it from there. I wish we had a better answer here, but yeah, this seems like an issue with like a couple of different older games with Lutris. There are going to be. This is why the move from Linux to Windows is not seamless. There are hiccups along the way. You could attempt a pure wine run of this. It will be tricky. Like without Lutris, you might try to just run this through Wine itself. Or you may attempt to run a virtual machine running Windows. Considering this, it's a 20-year-old game, it might not be a problem. Putting it into a VirtualBox for a 20-year-old game, that's technically retro. It might be able to run it with no troubles. You just have to set up, say, VirtualBox or they're freeware, or free to use at least. Set up a virtual machine running. Even you could run an older version of Windows on there, a more appropriate version of Windows for this. Install that, and then install the game to the virtual machine, and that may be an acceptable option. Although there are glitches with running virtual, lots of retro gamers have had issues with virtual machines, but that's sadly, given this specific instance, I'm sorry, Marcus, it's like your best option here. Unfortunate. Last one is for Mara. Managed to snag a Sapphire AMD 9060. Good on you. Been debating whether I should install it to the new motherboard CPU in my current case or look to get a separate one instead. My inquiry is, some of your suggestions for a new replacement case. I do have limited desk space. My preference would be something more rectangular over square shaped. However, I'm also open to other options as long as the case isn't a space hog. What were you suggesting in regards to a power supply? Besides the power supply, is anything else I should look for? Any specific fan splitters for internal fans I should look for when any option work? Is there anything besides the GPU, CPU, motherboard, RAM, power supply, cooler I should also get if I decide to purchase a new case? I want to make sure I have everything needed in order for the PC to function. All right. Let's start with the end. No, you've got everything I see there. Should be fine, although there are always weird instances that pop up at the last minute you can't predict. I've always had some weird ones like this. Like I try to install something and oh no, this one particular cable is too short, so I need to get an extension for it or whatnot. You can only plan for as best you can. So specific fan splitters, no, just make sure you get a good quality one. 4-pin, make sure they're all four. Even if you're using 3-pin fans, a 4-pin fan splitter will still work as well. They're backward compatible. So just make sure whatever fan splitters you get are 4-pin.
Yeah.
What suggest in regards to a power supply? Seasonic, Corsair, and also looking at the stuff you have, I wouldn't go much past an 850 watt power supply. Because what you're running a rather lower power system. 850 gives you a little headroom for upgrading later on down the line. But right now, replacement case settings. Let's see if it's still
as far as power supplies go. I like the Be Quiet brand, but they're really pricey. So
yeah, Be Quiet is another good brand. They make quality stuff. Okay. Dang it. Unfortunately, the recommendation I had for cases back in for the budget build last year, well, the tariffs have caught up to it. So the Fractal Pop Air, which I recommended back then, yeah, the prices have jumped up. Now they're running $90 each. It's a nice smaller case that even has the option to run. Let me put it on the screen here. Even has the option to fit a 5 1/4 drive in the bottom, which is really different these days. It's nice old, and it had fans included. Unfortunately, at the time, like at the end of last year, it was like $60. Now it's $90. So that's less of a good value. I'd have to look for a second. Give me 1 second to look over some case prices real quick. Silva Newegg and 50 to 75. Let's see what they have at that range.
And there was a problem with NZXT, but was that cases or was that something else?
That was their whole rental platform thing that just like, no, screw them. Montech. Yeah, there you go. Montech is a good alternative. Let's see. Ooh. Montech don't give a fuck. Yeah, all right, let me see. This is classy. Granted, this is an open box model. I'm gonna see if I can find the non-open box. Yeah, even then, that's 80. Oh, that's not a bad. Okay. Montech has been making these bottom barrel price cases for a while now. They have been undercutting everybody, and they're good cases. This one, it's their Montech XR wood. It's got what says Walnut inlay on the front.
That's a thing lately.
It includes 4 ARGB fans.
Which is always nice when they give you as long as the fans aren't garbage.
And this one, the open box one, is $56. Holy crap. I tend to trust Newegg's open box. But in addition to that, the full one is still $80 for the full version, and you get 4 fans. But there's $10 off with a promo code, so that's down to $69. So yeah, $70. Have a look at some of the more specific bits of this case. All right, it's got the XR wood. It's got a front panel that's mesh. always a good one. Can hold 360 mil rads, also good. Let's see. Dust filters, nice. USB-C, good. Yeah, that's a for 60. Yeah, so that'd be $70. Yes, yeah, 10% off.
$70, and you get the 4 fans.
Yeah, that's a good deal. I'd go for that.
That's a very difficult one to beat.
Yeah, Montech has been trying to undercut everybody else in the industry, and they're driving people crazy with it. Their quality is fairly good. People speak highly of them. I've seen Gamers Nexus speak highly of their products. The fans might not be the greatest in the world, but you can replace them later. They will function. I promise you that much, at least. So you can get the open box for $56. You can get the brand new one. You can get it white or black, and it's a normal size case. So, yeah, even's got a glass side panel. Good Lord, that's a deal. That's what I would call on. Yeah, if I was building one right now, that's what I'd look at, because fans and case and yeah. All right, okay, folks. That is going to do it for us tonight. That's all the questions we had in. You got anything else, Mike?
No, nothing for this.
Oh, can I just show you something? Speaking of fans, can I show you something sad? Very sad. My case is an unusual one. Because it's weird. It's got let me see if I can pull it up on screen to show you folks. Thermaltake Core X7. Yeah. No, is that no X7, X9, or is it X5? X5. I think it was X5. Yeah. Hold on. Let me see. Come on. Bring it up. Bring it up. Come on. Ain't got all night. Yeah, here it is. The Core X5. This is mine. I've got it in white. Oh yeah, there's no edition. Okay. It's a cube style case. It's kind of 2-chambered-ish. It's a nice platform. I like it. But when it originally came out, it was not intended to be glass panels. And then glass became all the rage, so Thermaltake retrofitted them. One of these panels was meant to be side panel mesh, so getting cooling into it got a little weird. I've got it, and because it's got a split in the middle, I have on the front of it, at the top, I've got a 120 millimeter fan. At the bottom, I have a 200 millimeter fan. And underneath, there's a 360 millimeter radiator that's venting out. So that 200 millimeter fan of the front is pretty much going to that 360, but it's not getting much up the top. Up the top, it's mostly just that 120 coming in. I've got two 120s on a radiator going up and one 140 on the radiator at the back going out. And that kind of offset. That's a lot for that one fan on the front to try to pull in air for. So what I came up with an idea for is they now have reverse blade fans. So I thought I would get a reverse blade 140 millimeter for the back, so I could bring in air from the back through the radiator for the 140. I'd bring in air through the front for the 120, and they'd go up and out through the 240 at the top, right?
Okay, makes sense.
So I got this nice reverse blade fan from Fantex. It's the D30, which is a 30 millimeter fan, so it's slightly larger. It's reverse blade, so instead of blowing air out, it sucks air in. Perfectly good, exactly what I'm looking for. It's 140 millimeters, nice size, ARGB, nice little bonus. However, this is just, I don't even know how it showed up like this. Out of the box, it's not a removable blade.
It's not supposed to do that, Nash.
Nope. It is not a removable blade fan. It is this is broken. I don't know how this happened. in shipping. I've got a new one coming and I'm returning this one. It's just now it's going to take an extra 2 weeks to get to me. But it's just a heartbreaking. It's just such a nice fan. When I got it out, I was like, oh, this looks so nice. And it's just, oh crap, it's broken. It's broken. So it's just heartbreaking. Still, it should. One of the things about doing case fans is you kind of got to balance them. It's a pressure thing. Right now, my case, I think, has if you have too much going out and not enough going in, I think it's negative pressure. If you have too much going in and not enough going out, you have positive pressure. Trying to balance them is kind of good, especially with water cooling. So hopefully this will get me a little bit better cooling coverage, because my case is unusual as it is. It's not like traditional. It's a box. My case is box. I like my box. It looks good. It's neat. That's where the 140 goes in the back. Part of what makes it viable to put the 360 millimeter in the bottom venting out is, number one, the bottom is all mesh. The back is mesh, and they're pulling in air from the back there. So it's kind of, the bottom is very open, honestly, if you're looking about it. It's the top that's a little bit more constrained in getting air into it. So holds a lot of radiators, though. Lot of radiators. I've had it for years, and I'm going to keep it for years longer. So, all right, that's going to do it for us for this week. We'll be back next Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you have tech questions for me and Mike, you can send those to requests at radio.air.com. In the meanwhile, for Mike and myself, we'll see you next time. Night, folks.